Have you ever wondered why, despite deploying the latest tools and striving to meet every regulation, so many businesses still find themselves vulnerable to cyber attacks? It's a challenge that frustrates even the most diligent security teams.
Most organizations rely on two common strategies: constantly adopting new technologies or focusing on compliance. The technology-driven approach centers on deploying advanced tools like network sensors, firewalls, and EDRs. On the other hand, compliance efforts ensure they meet frameworks such as NIS2 directive, and they are more meant to ticking the regulatory boxes to avoid penalties. But here's the reality: neither approach on its own is enough to keep pace with today's evolving cyber threats.
Cyber attacks aren't technical anomalies or regulatory risks. They are deliberate, calculated actions carried out by skilled and motivated criminals and spies. These attackers don't act randomly. They have specific goals, strategies, and playbooks designed to exploit any weakness in your defenses.
To truly outpace these threats, you need to see the bigger picture and combine all your efforts into a logical, coherent strategy. Let's start with understanding your adversaries, how they think, what drives them, how they operate, and that's where cyber threat intelligence, or CTI, becomes useful in your daily operations.
CTI helps with the big picture view in cybersecurity. It involves collecting threat data from various sources, analyzing it to identify patterns and vulnerabilities, profiling adversaries to understand their methods and motivations, and prioritizing the most relevant threats. This provides a dynamic understanding of the threat environment, helping us to stay one step ahead of attackers and adapt to emerging threats.
There's an analogy I like to use to explain this. Imagine you've been given the task of securing an art gallery containing valuable masterpieces. You can start by setting up strong defenses at the perimeter, like for example high fences, sturdy locks, alarm systems, but also motion detect cameras. And that's a bit like the technology-driven approach, where you keep adding new tools to stay secure. It works to a certain point, but the most skilled and determined attackers will inevitably find a way through. Another option is to follow a compliance-driven approach. That might mean training your staff, setting a security budget, and ticking all the right boxes. It's important as it provides a baseline, but it doesn't necessarily adapt quickly enough to new and evolving threats. Now imagine a different approach, one that starts with understanding the thieves themselves, because thefts of masterpieces like cyber attacks aren't random. They are planned by people targeting specific assets. By learning who they are, what they're after, how they operate, you can focus your defenses on the areas that matter the most. Maybe you'll install additional safeguards around the most valuable pieces. You can block key escape routes or even adjust the gallery's layout to make their job harder. So this is how a threat-driven approach works. Instead of just trying to predict every move of an attacker, you defend against the methods they're most likely to use. By aligning your defenses to these tactics, you force the attackers into less familiar territory, and you also increase the chances they will make mistakes and get caught. In cybersecurity, this is where CTI comes in. It gives you, on the one hand, the intelligence you need to guide attackers down to predictable paths, but you also reduce your attack surface and you strengthen your ability to detect and respond to threats.
At Hunt Hackett, we ingest and store the threat intelligence in our threat intelligence platform, or TIP for short. This acts as one centralized source of truth, where we can consolidate fragmented data from across the organization, as well as open source data. We can then structure it and enrich it with insights from our analysts, SOC investigations, and instant response cases. Data from the TIP can then be fed into various applications, whether that's the creation of new detection rules, input for threat hunts, or our threat diagnostic system. We use our threat diagnostic system to create detailed threat landscapes for organizations based on their specific risk profile, location, and sector. As an example, let's say you're a manufacturing company in the Netherlands. With Hunt Hackett's threat diagnostic tool, we'd start by identifying the key threat actors that are relevant to your business and the techniques they're likely to use. Next, we'd look at the data sources you have to detect those techniques, prioritizing the ones that give you the best coverage. This way, you know where to focus your efforts.
So this tool is also used by our analysts in researching the state-sponsored hacking groups from the usual suspect countries like Russia, China, and for example North Korea. And by studying their campaigns and also their TDPs and motivations, we're actually able to create threat profiles of the most relevant threat actors.
So when you're doing this research, you really have the feeling like, hey, we need to share this because it's way more achievable to defend against sophisticated attackers than you may think. You just have to be smart about it. That's why we launched the members portal, to share information that will hopefully help organizations better understand the risks that are out there and what they can do about them.
We know that threat actors regularly share tools and information among themselves, which is also why it's crucial for the security experts to collaborate and do the same. At the end of the day, there are people behind every cyber attack, and threat intel helps us understand who those people are, why they're targeting us, and what their goals are. By using this knowledge to build a threat-driven defense strategy, we can do more than just react to attacks. We can actually anticipate it. And when an incident does occur, threat intel provides valuable context, but it also improves the speed and quality of incident response. Beyond the here and now, threat intel can help you make better long-term decisions, whether it's shaping security strategies, allocating budgets, or managing risk effectively.